the Nike Air Classic BW. Tonight I bring you a video on a forgotten classic, the Air Max BW, also known as the Air Classic BW, originally designed in 1990 and released in 1991. This one I call a forgotten classic because it was released in between the Air Max 90, and you know all the hype on the Air Max 90, and in between the Air Max 180, also known as the Air 180. Now, in the history of Air Pack, they always skip this one with the Air Max collection for some reason. This one originally was designed as a running shoe. Now it usually comes out as a urban shoe. One of the nicest of all the Air Max lines, and should be included in the history of Air Max Pack, as this one was going to be the Air Max 4, but instead they called it the Air Max BW, and the BW stands for the big window. And at the time, in 1991, this airbag was way bigger than the Air Max 90. But if you could see the size of the airbag on this compared to the one retroed in 2016, you could see the size difference in the airbag. I have in my hand is the 2016 version of the Air Max Classic BW, and it's set to release this summer, 2021, which I'm super excited because there's a lot of things wrong with this retro that was released, in my opinion. Didn't really bring the shoe its glory. Back in its glory days in 1991 and early 2000s, this shoe was one of the more popular shoes in the Air Max line in Europe, actually. Places like Germany, places like Spain, England. This shoe was the Air Max 90 is today, was the go-to shoe. So when you're in Europe, this shoe was in every single Nike store / Foot Locker store / urban store that they have there. The Air Max BW is one of the more popular Air Max lines in Europe. I'm not sure why it didn't take off as much as it did in Europe. Here in North America, I'm not too sure, but in my opinion, one of the most beautiful designs designed by Tinker Hatfield, the Air Max BW. I do have some sketches here done by Tinker Hatfield when he was designing this shoe in 1990 for the release of the Air Max 4, which is known as the Air Max BW now. This shoe has gone through a lot of name changes over the years. It first started going to be the Air Max 4, then it became the Air Max Classic, then it became the Air Max Classic BW, and the BW once again stands for the big air window that you see on the side of the shoe. I have a few pairs to show you in my collection. This here one is the 2016 version. Like I said, it has a few differences which I didn't like compared to the original. The tongue is a lot thinner than the original. This should be a neoprene type of material, kind of like the Huarache almost. But if you see the difference in the tongue here, obviously the color is different. But this one kind of had like remember the skater shoes from the late 90s, early 2000s that were fat? That's kind of what the original kind of had, was a fat tongue. And they need to bring back that fat tongue because it really adds to the character of the shoe. The 2016 version also, the padding at the back of the shoe was quite small and not as fat as you can see here, less stuffing in it, which also changes the dynamic of the shoe and the shape of the shoe. And my biggest complaint was the toe area. I don't know if you can see it, but the toe on the 2016 version is just too low and it should be higher. To a trained eye sneaker collector, we notice these things, but to a normal person, you wouldn't notice the difference. But if you see the cut of the toe, it kind of wraps up the tip of the toe. That's one thing that bothered me on the shoe. Also, the 2016 version had different insoles, but they got to keep that Nike International stamp because that is one of the classic things that always goes in the Air Max BW, which I enjoy. Okay. Now, hopefully, Nike blesses us like they didn't bless us with the structure, and they put the Air BW in the original box. I'm hoping to see this with the anatomical arches, which also adds to the whole experience of opening up your Nike Air Classic BW. So I'm hoping Nike gives us this, just like you're seeing here. I hope that Nike does that. Big shout out to Nike. If you do this, I'll be quite happy. I have an original B grade Air Max BW. This is not the Persian violet colorway, but this is an original Air Max BW from 1991 with the fat tongue, the neoprene kind of tongue feel here. This is a full grain leather one. This one is unwearable, but you see that it's starting to fall apart. But great for a collection of the Air Max. What got me into the Air Classic BW is I had a subscription to Sneaker Freaker in the early 2000s. And I bought that because I was into sneakers, and that sneaker magazine is published in Europe, and throughout this magazine was BWs everywhere. In enormous amounts of colors I've never seen before. When I was in Europe a couple years ago, I went to the Nike store, and they still had Air Classic BWs on the shelf in an array of colors. And I was excited to see the Air Classic BW with so much love. I would really like the more colorways to come out of Nike here in North America. So I love the Persian colorway that's coming out, but I would like to see that the purple in where the purple is red, like that original one. Even for the women's version where the purple was pink, those were amazing. Anything with this color blocking where the three tones, you got the black, the white, and the purple, and change the purple to any other color. Maybe a green, maybe that teal turquoise. I would love to see that. I would really like to see a leather one again, but I want the leather to be white and white midsole. I'm not a big fan of the Air Classic BWs with the black midsoles. So out of my collection, I have the Air Classic BW, the original 1991 version, right here, which is a B grade. That one. I have the 2003 version right here, 2003, with the fat tongue, perfect suede. I wish, like all Nikes in the early 2000s, they had shit quality paint that I don't know where they got the paint from, but it's terrible. And this one's hardly worn. Hardly worn. You can see there, hardly worn. I wore it twice and the friggin' paint started cracking. So awful, awful paint, but beautiful shoe. When I first came across the Air Classic BW, I was 21 years old. Working at Champs at the time, and we got a few pairs of the leather ones in. This white gold one that I can't find it anywhere. I actually found it in the back room when I started working there. It was a mismate. One side was a 10.5 and the other side was 11. We didn't have them on the shelf at the time. We didn't have any Air Max BWs on the shelf, but we had it in the write-off bin as a mixed mate. I asked to buy it because I thought this shoe was beautiful. I bought it for, I don't know, 19 bucks or something because it was on sale. It was super cheap. And then I went hunting for the Air Max BW and came across the Persian colorway and all the other colorways that I found at Sneaker. Personal favorite BWs, the Stash BW, which was a artist collab back in the early 2000s where artists got to design their shoe with Nike. Graffiti artists, shop owners, there was lots of collaborations going on in the early 2000s. Dash is Dave White. He's a well-known graffiti artist. He did a collaboration with Nike on the Air Max BW, and this is one of my favorite BWs. And if Nike could do maybe a retro version of this one, would be great, like they did with the Dave's Quality Meets Bacon Air Max 90s. It'd be great to see the Air Max BW Stash come back. You may have seen, if you're a sneakerhead, you've seen a lot of his works. He's done a lot of splatter paintings of the Air Jordan 5, Air Jordan 4, and he did a collaboration with Nike back in the early 2000s on the Air Max BW. That would be amazing to get a wearable pair of this shoe because most of the shoes that are out today are unwearable. But it would be a beautiful shoe for a retro. And hopefully there's not too much hype on this shoe. Not too many people are jumping on this shoe would be great, because it's one of my favorite, and I would love that this one's an easy scoop. So thanks for your time. Make sure you guys give me a follow on Instagram at Foresight23. Make sure you give me a subscribe, maybe some thumbs ups. Make sure you give me some comments. I like your comments. I'll answer most of the ones that are sent in. And let me know what you think about the Air Classic BW, if you're going to get a pair or not. Let me know. Hopefully it comes with the Nike Air hang tag also, that was in 1991 on most of the shoes that came out. And that would be great to have and great for us to see in the Air Classic BW.